Welcome to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. He is a prominent and co-founding member of two of the most important and influential rock bands in American rock music history. He is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, and a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a great honor for me to welcome to the show today Pastor Richie Furay. Richie, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Rich. Nice to talk to you, man.
I've been hoping to have you on this program for a long time, so it's good to finally have you here.
Well, all you needed to do is ask, man. I'm pretty accessible.
Well, you know, we waited for a good time to get you on because you were coming to town June 16th. It's Father's Day 2013, South Orange, New Jersey, at the South Orange Performing Arts Center. You'll be performing with the Richie Furay Band with special support by Paul Cotton. And we're just imploring the people out there to, do the dads a favor. Don't make them hang over the barbecue grill. Take them out to this legendary rock and roll show.
You know what? That sounds like a deal, man. I think it's a special thing. And, when I found out that it was Father's Day, because I had no idea when it was going down. Sometimes these holidays or whatever just go by. But, I've got a great family out here and 4 wonderful daughters and 3 son-in-laws and 11 grandchildren, and I thought, my goodness, what am I doing back in New Jersey on Father's Day? But, hey, I can't think of a better place to spend it than back there if I can't be home here.
Well, that's true, Richie, and, this show, of course, is going to be dedicated to the honor and memory of the longtime radio legend out in New York City, Pete Fornatale, who was a longtime POCO supporter. Do you have any favorite Pete stories that you'd like to tell?
Oh, listen, Pete was just one of my dearest friends over the past, in just the last couple of years. We got to spend a lot of time together. In fact, the last show that I think I did back in the New Jersey area was with Pete. And he was, promoting his book with Art Garfunkel and all. But Pete and I have been, just great friends over the years, and certainly my heart was saddened when he passed away. But, I'm glad to have this be part of a tribute to Pete as well.
Right, I agree with you. I mean, I've seen you several times, and every time that I've been there, Pete's been there as well. So he's definitely a big fan and a huge supporter, going all the way back to the original POCO liner notes. But we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Let me back up. RICHIEFURAY.com is the website. Richie's coming to town, as mentioned, South Orange Performing Arts Center. Go on over there. It's going to be a very special night. Richie, the last time that I saw the Richie Furay Band was 2007 in New York City at BB King's.
Wow. That's been a while.
Right, and you were fantastic, of course.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you.
When we left the show that night, there was a phalanx of armed police personnel in riot gear. I guess they thought you guys were stirring it up again.
I don't know. I must have gone out the back door. I missed that.
It was crazy. It really was. It was truthfully all there. I was there with my brother, who is the longtime POCO fan. Dan is 12 years my senior.
Oh, okay.
And of course, graduating high school in 1972, he was right in the wheelhouse and in New York City to be there when you guys just emerged on the scene all the way. And, for the rest of my life as a young kid, I kept hearing about this band, POCO. And it's
well, good for him, man. I'm really I'm excited about that. My daughter that sings with me married Tom Lynch, and he has a brother named Dan. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a connection there or not somewhere down the line.
Yeah, there could be. I guess we're like the Smith of the Irish, I think.
Well, he was from back there in New York as well, so that's interesting.
Richie, just give me an idea. How much time do we have?
Well, I've got a few minutes here to chat with you.
Okay, I got a stack of questions. So you're coming to town. Paul Cotton, your longtime Poco group member, will be in support. Are there any chance you two will break out any real Poco rarities to make this special event even that much more special?
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but I'll be doing a song or two with Paul, and then he's going to come out and do some things with us as well. So it'll, and we've never done this before. I mean, I've been sort of wanting to get together with Paul for some time and have him on a show. And when David Stone called and asked if how I would feel about him inviting Paul out, I said, "Oh man, that would be just absolutely wonderful." So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think people will be really glad to see Paul, as I will be, and to see our band as well.
Well, very, very good. Now let's back it all the way up. You're an 8-year-old child. You get a first guitar. I hear you're not very enamored with it.
Well, man, this thing was made out of cardboard, and it was puke green with cowboy scenes on it, and I wanted a real guitar, man. So I, in no uncertain terms, let my mom and dad know about it, man, and yeah. I'd love to have that guitar now, though.
So how soon after did you upgrade?
I'm pretty sure that it was, and that's going back way, way back, for me to think about that. But it wasn't too long that they took me down to Morelli's Music Store in Springfield, Ohio, and I talked to Lois Northeim. I can remember her name and the store and all of that. And, we talked about getting some lessons and just buying a guitar, and they were a little hesitant because my hand could barely get around, a guitar neck at that time. But somehow or another, we worked one out, and I started taking a few lessons. I'm not sure what good they did me way back then, but it wasn't long after that Christmas that probably I got a guitar to fiddle around with.
Now the next time we see you, you're in New York City with the All Go-Go Singers. But what was your childhood like between 8 and going to New York? Were you a normal kid? Did you have what were your other interests like?
Well, I certainly love sports, and kind of even set the guitar down for a while. Because it just wasn't it wasn't a hip thing like I think it was today to be a musician and pick up an instrument and all. And everybody wanted to be a big baseball player or basketball player or something. And baseball was certainly my thing at the time. And so I had a normal childhood, wanting to be an athlete until I went off to college and found out that hey, that was never going to happen. And so. Got together with a couple buddies, Bob Harmelink and Nels Gustafson, and we started doing some folk music and playing guitar.
Very good, very good. And that early leap of faith that you took to believe in yourself, led to you hooking up with some of the most legendary musicians in rock history very, very early on. The story about the founding of the Buffalo Springfield is almost of mythical status. I mean, I know you're a pastor, and someday, 2,000 years from now, when rock and roll is a real religion, I mean, that story is probably going to be in that book.
Well, it was as fate would have it. It couldn't have been planned any better, or nobody could have scripted it any better. Stephen and I playing music together back in New York in a little folk group, the Go-Go Singers, and then him meeting Neil on his way to California, and then Neil coming down to New York to stay at our little apartment there on Thompson Street in New York, and then getting together out in California. Way before the days of cell phones and all that, Neil was out there in California. He'll tell you that he was looking for Stephen and had been in Los Angeles a couple weeks and decided, hey, it's not going to happen. We're not going to find these guys. And so he and Bruce were starting to leave L.A., headed out to the 405 to go to San Francisco, and there we all hooked up on Sunset Boulevard, if you can believe it.
Yeah, I think part of the misperception is that that the hearse was driving into town, but those guys were actually heading out. They
were leaving.
Yeah.
They were on their way out of town, and we were. I don't know what we were doing or what we had been, but there we were on Sunset Boulevard, and we saw that hearse with the Ontario plates. I mean, traffic was not moving very fast that day either.
So the Buffalo Springfield becomes a thing. It becomes an overnight sensation almost, and you land a big residency at the Whiskey A Go Go with many, many other great bands of the day. Love in the Doors come to mind. Were you able to take in the other acts as well as perform there?
Oh yeah, sure. We listened to them, and I won't say that I got to know too many of the other bands, but we certainly knew each other and knew who each other were.
What was your impression of what was happening on stage with Jim Morrison?
He was definitely a show, man. Yeah, I mean, one day you'd just be kind of listening to the music, closing your eyes, and look up on the stage, and all you'd see are three guys. Where was Jim? He was laying on top of one of those big basement amplifiers singing, and he is an interesting character, man. I can't really say that I knew Jim, but I certainly knew, I knew him, but I didn't know him.
Well, you were probably in close proximity of him on several occasions.
Yeah.
So we are talking with Richie Furay, the living rock and roll legend. Richie, you were actually the fifth member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame we've had on the show, so thank you for a nice even number there.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yep.
You are welcome. Let's talk a little bit more about the Buffalo Springfield. So, Richie, we as fans, we waited so long like you did to experience Buffalo Springfield again. And you got that. You guys came together in 2000. You got together in 2010, 2011 for a handful of dates in the gigantic Bonnaroo headlining experience. And then 30 more dates were supposed to be coming down the pike. I guess we as fans, knowing the Buffalo Springfield story, couldn't really have expected anything less than that having gone away, or not really, kind of going into an amorphous, maybe this will happen again. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's just, I guess, typical of the way things kind of unfolded with the Springfield way back in the 60s, and not much has changed in the 2000, but I think we were all looking forward to maybe doing it, and it just didn't happen. And what it did was it gave me an opportunity to get back into the studio, because I started writing some songs during that period of time, and even though economically for me it probably wouldn't be my CD isn't probably going to be as profitable had the songs been on a Buffalo Springfield recording, but nevertheless, there they were, and I had to record them, and so I'll thank Neil for that. But we were looking forward to doing those 30 days. I was kind of stuck out there as the spokesman, and if anything ever happened again, I would sure take a look at how far out there I'm going to go as a spokesman for the band if it ever would happen, and I doubt that it ever will again now, but I'll never say never.
Well, the one thing about the reunion in recent years is, God, you guys looked you all look so good, and it's especially you, Richie, up there in the middle, you kind of sort of maybe reclaimed a little bit of your legacy in that band, because as Neil went on to have an enormous superstar career, as did Steven and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, you kind of went away a little bit.
Yeah, well, we each chose our path, and I was so focused, Rich, on my family, and I'm really glad that I did what I did and made the choices that I made, and am still able to play music. But you know what? My life is really solid. I have a great family and a great support system back here, and I still get to come out and play music like I'll be doing back there on June 16th. So I mean, I've got the best of both worlds. To tell you the truth, I watched the Eagles, that Eagles show that was on a while back, kind of documenting them. And, I looked at that and I said, if I had to actually do what they did, to actually make it and become the success that they did, I could have never done that. My heart just wasn't in that space and that place to make the kind of sacrifices that those guys made. And, I've got no regrets here, to say a little tidbit on a song there. I really, I'm just really happy with the place that I'm in. No one in the world could be any blessed more than I am in having the life, and I've been married for 46 years to the same woman. You follow that down the line, man, and it's just like I could never, ever look back and think that, because Steven and Neil and those guys, I won't say that at one point in time I looked at their career and said, well, wait a minute, what about me? I won't say that point never happened in my life, But basically, man, I mean, it's been a great thing. I was glad to be able to get out there with Stephen and Neil again and do those songs. And if there was something that happened during that showed the people, what my place was and the importance, maybe that I played in the whole overall picture of the Springfield, back in the day, if it got solidified, yeah, so be it, man. That was fun.
Well, the reality of that, I mean, did you, in fact, receive lots of email from maybe some of these last couple of generations who might not have been aware as much of your work as they would have been of the other two members?
No, I think so. I think people, took note of that, and at least, if not from a songwriting perspective, because I only wrote really a few songs during that period of time, but certainly as a performer and what I added to the band as a rhythm guitar and singer in the band, I think certainly people, probably took note of that.
Couple more minutes with Richie Furay, the great Rock and Roll Hall of Fame living legend, co-founder of two great bands in American history, Buffalo Springfield, and we're going to move into the Poco territory right now. Okay. So Buffalo Springfield goes away after 25 furious months out there doing your thing, 3 albums, all those the incendiary brief time that all took place, and you go and form Poco with Jimmy Messina. I wanted to ask you, I have some questions from some fans. Your former band Poco has just put out a brand new album. It's called All Fired Up. They wanted to know, by any chance, have you gotten a chance to hear that?
Sure, I've listened to it and really proud of Rusty and the guys that he's playing with now. Certainly, I'm just proud that they just keep making music. It's really great.
Do you feel it stacks up well against all the others in the catalog?
Well, how do you really put a value on that, or how do you say that? I don't know. I guess it'll just pan out with time. I think for the Poco fans, it just stacks right up there, because you know what? Poco fans just are waiting for music, and anytime they can get anything new from Poco, I think they're going to be happy with it. And if it's satisfied their hearts, and that's all that matters.
All right, Richie, I want to try to clear something up for myself. I mean, of course, I've read the Legend book. I haven't read your autobiography, but I definitely want to. Poco was a huge band, founded in 1968, and you really dominated the East Coast area through the early 70s period. You had an adoring, loving, excited fan base who always came out to support you at the concerts. Why was the pursuit of a hit radio song so important to you when your contemporaries like the Grateful Dead were more than happy to go out there and build their fan base? They had something that lasted almost 40 years, and they didn't really have a real hit album until 1987.
Rich, who knows what was driving us at that time? It seemed like that was the motivation for us was to have that hit record. We seemed to think that was the what would launch us into making maybe life easier on the road. Who knows? I can't really tell you back then, but it certainly did drive us, and we were certainly thinking that Good Feeling to Know was going to be the song that did launch us into another realm up there, but it didn't happen. And I think the disappointment, when the Eagles released Take It Easy, kind of just put a hindrance on me as really, and you know what, there was so much going on in my life at that particular time that I wasn't even aware of. But, when it didn't happen with Good Feeling to Know, it kind of changed my perspective, for some reason at that particular time.
So that was the original case with Poco. You eventually leave the band, leaving some of the interchanging members to come and go. But the band, the original 5 guys, reunite in 1989 for the Legacy Tour. At that point, you seemingly had everything that you desired. You had the arena tour. Richard Marx was opening. You guys had videos on MTV. So you and your face was in the living room across America. The album was a hit. Why did you decide to walk away at that time?
It was an awful experience, not with the band, but with everything going around it.
You just didn't like what modern day rock and roll had turned into.
Well, no, there were definitely some issues that I felt backed into a corner, and when I got backed into a corner at that point in time, I had to fight and speak up. I believe that there were some folks, and I won't again say that this was from the band, but from those that were kind of overseeing the band. I think there was a lack of respect as to who I was. And even though we talked about it and discussed it on many occasions before the band ever got into even the rehearsal stages, there were some things, that I basically felt, I was not given the respect that I needed from a personal respect as to who I was. And so I just had to make a stand at one point in time and say, you know what? If you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to take action. And I pulled a Neil Young on him, to tell you the truth.
Well, you learned from all life's experiences, so you had one in your back pocket.
Yep.
So Richie Furay is on the phone with us. He's a great rock and roll legend. I'm so happy to be talking to you, Richie. I just really have a couple more, but a great show is happening in South Orange, New Jersey on June 16, 2013 at the SOPAC. The Richie Furay Band will be there. Paul Cotton will be in support and will be joining Richie on stage for a couple of numbers, so it's a very exciting and historic show from that point of view. As mentioned, you are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Buffalo Springfield. In your opinion, does Poco deserve a similar honor?
Absolutely. You know what? I'm not sure what criteria the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame uses, but for a group that pioneered probably the most popular musical sound in American history, is not acknowledged. I think there's something very wrong there. A group that has a legacy, as Rusty is still carrying the name out there and still playing the music after all these years. But Poco had a great impact on American music, and for it not to be acknowledged, I think, is an insult to the band.
Well, there is still time, and a big important number is coming up, and this leads to my next question. The 50th anniversary of Poco will be happening in the year 2018. That seems kind of weird to say. Now, are you aware, Richie, of what Little Steven, the great online disc jockey, has recently done for and with the Rascals?
No.
He basically loved that garage band sound. Brought them back for basically is the executive producer. Brought them back to a really nice theater in Westchester, New York, Capitol Theater. I don't know. I'm sure you guys played there back in the day because it just reopened. But it's a really it's just really over the top and a lovely theater. But the Rascals came back and did like a couple of show run there. Did so well that they brought the thing to Broadway.
Oh wow! How cool!
For about a 15 show performance. I could see something similar happening with Poco. Would you be willing to get together with all the alumni to celebrate your legacy and part of rock and roll if that came to pass, and if some Poco fan out there with deep pockets was willing to finance the whole thing?
So, now you're talking about 2018?
Sure. Well, we got to assume that everybody's going to be around.
Man, I can't see that far down the road. I can't see down the next year, man, what's going to be going on. But you know what? You never know what might happen. But boy, I'll be maybe 80 at that time or something like that.
No. It's 4 years away. It's 5 years.
Only 4 years away.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
So I hear that you recently had a reunion with your co-members in the Southern Hillman Furay supergroup. I wanted to know if there's any chance your friend J.D. can get you a cameo on that great television series, Nashville.
Well, I think you're going to have to ask him about that, but I'm sure happy for him. We, Chris and J.D. and I did get together and kind of had lunch together not too long ago, I guess a little over a year ago before the Nashville show got started. And fact is, he was just getting ready to do some of the auditions for that show at that time, and I sure am excited and for the success that he's getting in that show. He's a very talented guy, man, and it was just good for us to get together, sit down, have lunch together because it's been a long time. And he happened to be in the Los Angeles area, and Chris was just up the road, and we were playing, so it was neat to just spend some time.
Richie, just 5 more, and then I'm going to ask you about your new record that is underway and in progress, and hopefully we'll be hitting the scene soon. But I wanted to know, how did a life in rock and roll prepare you for your calling as a pastor of Calvary Chapel in Colorado?
Well, you know, Rich, man, I really believe that I'm a people person, and I care about people, and I think that hopefully my music has conveyed that over the years, you know, and I think it just expressed a love for people and all, and so as I have an opportunity to pastor and to encourage and just really have that opportunity to come alongside people in their journey of life, you know, and encourage them, I think that's how it really started to prepare me.
Do you find on occasion that your fans from either Buffalo, Springfield, or Poco will emerge out of the woodwork and show up while you're giving a sermon?
Hey, if they're in the area, they're more than welcome to show up, yeah.
But you don't know, I'm sure you would know if they just come up afterwards and, you know, shake your hand, and, you know, I'm sure that happens on occasion.
Well, there's been a few folks that have come by, you know, and sat in. Al Perkins has come along. Of course, he's the one that led me to the Lord. Rusty and Mary. I think Mary's been, you know, I can't even remember if Rusty came with the time that Mary came with her mother or not. But there's been some of the folks that have stopped by, you know, and said hello, and we're always open, and they're always welcome.
So there's still a chance Poco could become a CCM band before long.
I doubt that.
So how many trips as a pastor have you led to the Holy Land?
I've actually led 2 myself, and I've gone along on 2 other ones.
I've been there once myself, and you know, toured the ruins, some of those ancient amphitheaters, and it was a very musical tour that I was on. Did you have the temptation to you know, play some of your secular hits there?
Hey, listen, you know, when you're in Caesarea there, it's awesome in that amphitheater. I mean, you know, just to hear how, you know, you don't even need amplification. It's a very touching time to be in the Holy Land. I love to go there.
So I'm sure they got a good feeling to know then.
Absolutely.
You were an instructor recently at a rock and roll fantasy camp along with Roger Daltrey and Dave Navarro. How did that go, and any talk of forming another supergroup?
No, and I actually didn't even see Roger or Dave. They had one day, and I had another day. You know, I mean, each guy had a day, and my part was there to just go along and encourage these guys. That it's kind of amazing what they do. I mean, it is. It was just so cool, you know, to see these guys that come in from all over the world. There was a girl there from Japan that had been there, I think, on 4 different occasions, and this is not a cheap thing that they come to do, you know. I mean, it costs them some money, but they get there, and then just to see these guys are so, they just want to play music, and the guys say, okay, now what do you play? Well, I play guitar. Okay, go over there, and then the bass player's over here, and the keyboards and the singers, and then they say, okay, you, and you're going to be a band for the next day, or next, few days. And it's just amazing to see how they work out songs, and so it was a lot of fun. I just enjoyed just seeing the talent that these people, you know, who have regular day jobs, you know. It's just amazing. It was a real fun experience for me. Yeah,
man. Of course, all the recent reality programs are alluding to the fact that there's a lot of underdeveloped or unknown talent out there. So it's all over the place. But, you know, you had to make a choice early on to go seek it, and you found it. So that's very, very cool. RICHIEFURAY.com is the website. Richie is coming to town with the Richie Furay Band, June 16, 2013. Forget the Father's Day plans. Take the dad out to a show with a real rock and roll icon. Paul Cotton of Poco fame will be in support and on stage with the band for a couple of numbers. Richie, you also got to pay tribute to Les Paul in his hometown of Waukesha, Wisconsin last year. You got to play with his trio. What was that like, and how was the turnout in the hometown for that legend?
It was really cool, and I'll tell you, that was another special event. Over the past couple of years, I got to do some really unique things that I would never have, at least had thought that I would ever have an opportunity to do, and to get there and to play with the Les Paul trio. It was really a lot of fun, and just to see the people that were excited that they had become, Waukesha had become a guitar town, and so it was really a special time.
Yeah, and Lou Paulo, the guitar player in that band, is a neighbor. He's lived
Really?
He lives the next town over, so we always see him around.
Very cool.
The Poco fans just wanted to know, what are your favorite songs by Tim, Rusty, and Paul?
Oh my goodness sakes alive! That's really, that's
That's tough to narrow down.
Yeah, I think what my favorite Paul song, and there's a lot of them because Paul is just a fantastic songwriter. But I really like "Ride the Country." I mean, I think that's one of my favorites of Paul's. With Rusty, again, I think, golly, it's just. I mean, how do you just put one song? Rose of Cimarron's a great song. Love that song. With Timothy, I can't tell you why. Keep on trying. He's again, those just throwing some off the top of my head.
One from both bands right there. So finally, Richie, tell me about the new album. How far along are you? When do we think it's coming out? What you got a tentative title?
Well, it's all recorded. Yes, the title of the album is going to be Hand in Hand. And, a lot of people criticize me for writing love songs, but 46 years, and I just had to write another song for my kind woman from another perspective. And so that song really looks back on, over the years, hand in hand, we just keep going on and on, And, but there are going to be some surprises on this record. There's no doubt about it, because I have stepped out to make a few statements that normally, people would probably not expect from me. I did also, I wrote 5 songs myself. My partner Scott Sellen and I wrote 2. And then I recorded a song by a group called the Kate Brothers from way back in 1977. A friend of mine, Jim Mason, who produced some of Good Feeling to Know, and he did the Firefall records and all. He produced this record by the Kate Brothers, and so I did a song by them that I really liked. And then I have another interesting situation. I recorded a Dan Fogelberg song.
Oh.
And I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but I think that it is absolutely the best song that Dan ever wrote, and I know that he wrote tons and tons of hits. It was a song that I actually wanted to do as I was invited to perform on a CD that's going to be coming out. I believe they're planning it to come out in August, which is kind of like a tribute CD to Dan and his music. And I wanted to do this song, and I remember talking to Gene at his wife at the induction of John Denver into the Colorado Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I said, I've got this song, and here's the, and just really, it's an honor to be a part of this project, and I told her the name of the song, and I saw her face just drop. And I was like, uh-oh, because this is an obscure song. And she said, I think somebody else has already done that song. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, it came back, no, you can go ahead and record it. This guy didn't do the song. And then right at Bonnaroo, I had scheduled some recording time with the guys that I record with in Nashville, and had them all ready to go ahead and record the song with me, and came back, nope, this other guy did the song, you can't do the song now. So I kind of threw my arms up and said, I'm just not even going to mess with this anymore. And it was so interesting because I knew I was going to put this song on my record anyway, but then about a year had passed. And Chuck Morris, who is involved in the project back here, called me and said, hey, we just got to have you on this album. And he said, would you mind recording a song with the Dirt Band for it? And I said, of course not. I'd love to. Jeff and the guys are all good friends of mine. And so Jeff and I got our heads together, and we actually have recorded Run for the Roses.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a nice one.
And so that one's going to be on the tribute record if and when it ever comes out, for Dan. And then I've got this one on my own project that, again, I'm not going to tell you the name of it because I've already put it on my Facebook, people are kind of guessing, what could the song be? What is that song, So I'm not going to tell you what it is, but the album, I think it's some of the best music that I've ever done, and I sure hope that the Poco fans latch onto it, because it's got some good music. I don't know why this happens, but there's kind of like another anthology song called "We Were the Dreamers," which I think people will find pretty interesting as well.
From the Poco catalog?
No, this is a brand new song, but it's kind of like a When It All Began, but it's a different. It's much different than that.
It's another take on a story song idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Richie, we would love to have you back on when the new album comes out. I still have a stack of questions here, so I'll save them, put them to the side, and I will also read your book.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rich.
So I'll have some more info for the next time. Great talking to you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
You bet, man. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the SoundPress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at SoundPress.net.